So they got the roof off. Beautiful old hand-hewn beams. They cut it up into short sections and threw them in a big pile in the backyard there. I'm gonna try and buy it off them. Offer to make a donation, whatever you want to call it. Rather than see it burn for firewood, I'd rather see it piled up in the back of my property and rot. Could always burn it or get an Alaska chainsaw mill, make planks out of it, build a building. Wonderful stuff. There's the mulberry. I wanna shave him down a bit. Gotta borrow Joe's ladder to do that. There's my leaves. That's 5 cubic meters of leaves there. About 2 foot high. Wet, it's thick. It's you know, it's not loose. It's all leaves. Not much air there. Enough for our fellas to go to work. Imagine in the spring now, if I have the inclination, I dug the top 6 or 8 inches off. It'd just be pure worm castings there. That area here, all along here, this, you know, they're putting a new roof, new soffit, new eaves trough. They're obviously going to paint this wall. If they don't, I'll paint it. I want to do figs or olives or something along that wall. But this whole area here, I should have maybe done this first. This is, you know, very little shade. It's going to get the reflection off that white wall. It's going to be the earliest garden we ever have. This section here. The wife would like lawn here, I'm sure. But underneath the tree is going to be, well, between the tree and the kind of the roadway, whatever you want to call it, there's going to be a wood chip parking lot there. So you can drive up. This, I'm standing in another little parking lot. Back in here, park there if you want to block the road so other people can't drive back there and park or whatever. But another little turnaround, an area where to dump off stuff, you know, if you got a load of something and you want to, whatever, 2-car wide there. You can't really, there's so many nuts. I'd rather have the nuts in a little parking area, keep it clean and tidy, than grow food right there. And, you know, people need a place to stand, park your car, or pass each other, or whatever, if they come and visit, or if we do ever actually sell anything, people will need to have a place to park while they get their veggies. So that central area there, there was 2 grapes there I saved. It's the same route. Starts way over by this pile of bricks, actually. It's as big as your arm, big as my forearm, bigger. Runs along there. It ran all the, I don't know if it's that when it ran all the way up the tree. You can still see the grapevines up there from 3 years ago. You know, it's a massive grape. It was 70 feet long. So there was one that was kind of sickly, just, you know, grew up from that main trunk root. I don't know if they'll ever survive. They'll ever put their own roots down right there. You can see the little piece of green. So it saved him, and the other one, this side, was kind of sickly, so I just chopped him off. He might grow back again, whatever. I mulched him there. But the rest of that would be a nice little early garden. Peas and, you know, stuff. Salad, right? Salad. Nice stuff, quick. Get a little bit of shade, but not much. Very little. So anyway, so this is, like I said, I was standing in a parking lot. The little driveway here, the plan is to go down here. And I didn't know what I was paying for these chips, so I just used a very minimal amount here. Did a pretty good job. This was all chewed up. There was a massive, ugly old, not massive, but there was an old pigsty here. And it was roof tiles and mud brick wall and pieces of metal and, you know, a can and, you know, just broken hinges for the door, little door, and just a lumpy pile of junk here. So I just had a guy push it, kind of push it all down through here. It's a little lower here, and like it runs downhill is what I mean to say, and it was lower here, and there was other junk laying around here, like mostly just tiles, clay and cement roofing tiles, clay brick, and the mud brick. So we just kind of, and it started to rain, and he dug a big trench with his tires, and he just kind of, we just pushed it all here. you know, and he couldn't do the greatest job leveling it out. But we did that with the chips. And of course, the chips are going to rot. I know it's a continuous. It's a beautiful road, but it needs not constant maintenance, but you know, once or twice a year, maybe 3 times a year at the beginning. After a year or so, it'll figure it out. So I drove down here, and there's 2 big stumps here, 10, 12-inch stumps sticking up. So again, so I kind of, you know, wanted it so you didn't rip the engine out of your car while you're driving or whatever, right? And then, but there's the lowest spot is right there where you see it's disturbed there. I just dumped a bag in there to kind of fill it in a little bit. I'm not driving on it right now. I can, it's still safe. But it was wet there, and the chips are nice. If you have enough, they'll support a car. In the meantime, they're softening the ground below, and they make it, if you don't have enough, and you just have enough to get the ground soft, and then you sort of, you kind of push them down. If it's wet, you push them down into the wet, they just turn into dirt almost, you know, a month or 2 months. And then you're driving, then you've got kind of a little bit of a situation on your hand, because you don't have the benefits of the buoyancy and the traction, but you've created more ability for the soil to hold more water. It just becomes a little swampy little area right there. So that's what, you know, we just needs another skiff. Some of these little trailing viney things, again, it wasn't quite thick enough, but I can just hand pick them and give her another coat. But these are harder to kill than grass with the chips. But anyway, so this was just a mess. It would have been a lot of work to dig out all the crap. And then what do you do with all the crap? You got to throw it somewhere, put it in a bag, haul it away. So this is part of the reason why this is the road. And again, because of this beautiful wall here and the reflection, the sun is going to heat this up in the spring, keep it warmer later in the fall. The idea here is olives or figs or something. So eventually it won't be a road, full car width road. It'll just be a path is the idea. And then so we can garden can come out or whatever a bit here into the road, and then maybe 2 rows of olives or something, I don't know, or peaches or something. Some of those delicate things. If I'm going to plant a tree, I'd have to come out probably, you know, the middle of the road. So I'm not losing anything by having the road here. And it's doing its job. It's turning that and hard packed. You can see a little section of it there, what it was. Not good at all. But if I had covered this with chips, it would completely change. You can see, this camera is not designed for human use. Where you point it isn't where you're actually, it's an unnatural position. But you see that, we've driven on this and packed it down. Like, obviously you can drive on it. It's not for a garden, it's not an ideal situation, but it's making changes in the ecosystem here. Tremendous changes in the ecosystem in just a few months, and plus it's making a better place for us to drive. So, you know, like I said, that's it. 2-year, at least 1 year, 3-year, whatever, down the road project. So again, I didn't know how much chips I could get, how much it was going to cost me, that sort of thing. So I didn't even do along there at first. I just did the road, and same rationale here. I left this because I assume they're going to do something with the fence. So we don't know. You know, there's no sense chipping it and then if they're going to actually build a real fence. In Hungary, that involves a 3-foot or 1 meter cement wall underground, some sort of metal post coming out of it, and then you attach whatever sort of a fence, whether it's wood or brick or metal or cement, whatever. Generally a fence involves a 1 meter wall underground to support it there. So, you know, I don't mind that cement board. I kind of like it. But it's fallen. They have to fix whatever they have to do. So then later I came along and I said, okay, screw it. I hated it. You know, there were stumps. I could have chopped them with an axe and stuff, but it's around all those little pieces of bricks and stuff. Way worse than you see. Now this is what prompted this little video, is the ripping the roof off process. You see, There's more stuff. It's just mortar and cement and whatever, right? It's all some of it's gonna fall, and they would come and pick it up. But I'm gonna tell them you don't need to. Don't. It's just free. It's just free minerals. Again, the other thing that's hard to kill with wood chips is these blackberries, but they're so easy to pull, eh? If you go into a field that's not been chipped, you need a shovel to get just this little wee fella out of the ground, right? You should save all this somewhere, and I just throw it where, where it's going to be garden first. So, where was I? All this stuff, it's going to fall, some of it's going to fall down here. And I just put an initial layer there. It looked fairly good when it was new, fresh, or whatever you want to call it. It was fairly level, but you can see there's a nice line to work off of here. Shows you the slope of the ground. And some areas, like I say, they rot quicker, or there wasn't stuff. So we'll just level that out again, right over top of this, all this junk that falls. Unless it's a really big brick, I don't care. Like, this stuff is just going to disappear underneath the chips. And if it doesn't, whatever, if I want to plant a rose bush here, well, if I happen to dig, say this is here and this is where I want to plant my rose bush, well, I'll deal with it. As I dig my hole, so just see what I'm saying? See that? See? Oh, stupid camera. This is what you get. This was horrible, nasty, hard, white, almost white, not gray, clay soil. I covered this in July sometime. I can't say exactly when, but this is what it's doing, right? It's just like money in the bank. Throw some chips down and you'll have money in the bank. It's just like money in the bank. It's turning that stuff into, it's not turning anything into, it's just making wonderful circumstances for the natural biota, they call it, microbiota, to actually thrive and increase in population and churn up the soil and work properly as it's designed to do. Not be scorched by the sun, baked by the sun, pelted by the rain, anything leached through. You get some mushrooms happening. It's nice. All those tree branch roots and stuff, they're all rotting nicely. They're all providing food. That's how that population boom. Just like May 1946, everybody's buying a new house. They've got a job at GM or some steel factory or something. Oh, honey, let's have some kids. This is what's happening here in our soil. It's May 1946 all the time under the wood chips. It's the greatest population explosion known to man ever. Not of man, but known to man, of biological activity in your soil. So, yeah, so they're going to knock some stuff in, and next spring or whatever, no sense doing it now because it's just going to rot anyway over the winter. It's going to rot nicely over the winter. I'll get some chips and I'll re-chip that. And I'll re-chip the driveway. You won't be able to tell the difference. Except for I might plant a few little things here and there, right? And people won't know the difference. And then when I get this finished over here, I want to do the same program. Some sort of materials, and then wood chips, right? So it'll be flower bed or whatever, roadway, and then garden, unless there's stuff coming out of the soil before the stuff grows after I plant it. You won't be able to tell the difference on my property. They'll want the whole place covered. Doesn't matter. The odd little strip of green grass, whatever, a little fire pit or whatever here and there, but generally you won't be able to tell the difference between a walkway, a driveway, a parking lot, a garden, an area around where you're collecting nuts or whatever around a tree, until the stuff starts coming out of the ground. I'll put little flags or whatever. If we do get some traffic, it should be clear, but people seem to think, oh, I can't drive on that. It's like, that's what it's here for. It's a driveway. Clearly it's a driveway, people. Driveway. Don't turn around on the grass, turn around on the driveway part. So anyway, that's a little ramble for the. I got four of these great big sacks. I love these great big sacks. They weren't full, and it's been dry, so the leaves weren't too wet. I was able to get them onto the trailer and then get one up on top of the other and then get the next third one in, and then the last one was the hardest because I had to get it right up on top of the other bag. Not nearly as many bags or as much volume as leaves as you can get fill in the trailer, but it took 10 minutes to load. And I got the bonus sacks out of it. I'm gonna go to, I found a guy I can buy these. He's got thousands of them. They're handy. They got a little handle. This one does. These other three don't. It's not as good a handle as this. Easy to access for me. But yeah, so I got about 2 square meters, well over a foot deep of leaf mulch out of each bag. Like I said, this one was the smallest one. I should have. So it's only a man, 2 men. I don't know if 2 men could handle a full bag. It's designed to be lifted by a forklift or whatever a Pitman boom or whatever they call it. But it's a wonderful free resource. So I was just gonna go and scavenge some leaves across the neighbors there. His leaves blow across the street into my little front, outside of the fence, and then they blows down in front of the church, and better off just to rake it, and then nobody would have to do anything, just do it all at once. So we'll just rake it right into my little bag and then just pull it here and dump it on and carry on with the mulching program. Gotta get at her. 7:30. The early bird gets the worm. The early worm gets the leaves.